Hi, Jack Canfield here. Welcome back to another segment of Hollywood Live. My next guest, I'm so excited about. His name is Johnny B. He goes by Johnny B. And someone I've known for a couple of years and absolutely love. I'm going to read his bio because there's so much here I don't want to leave anything out. Johnny B. helps Silicon Valley engineers and managers and directors and executives buy and sell their homes. He's a two-time best-selling author, a media personality, a film producer, and a speaker. He has co-authored The Ultimate Home Buyer's Guide and also Success Mastery, a book he co-authored with me. And also he's produced 3 films in 2017, including Maximum Achievement, the Brian Tracy story, Rudy Rudiger, The Walk-On, you may remember the movie Rudy, and also with a movie about me called The Soul of Success, the Jack Canfield Story, for which I'm very grateful that you helped produce that. He's a certified luxury property specialist, a master certified negotiation expert, and a graduate of the Realtor Institute. An underachiever for sure. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you on the show. So before we get into asking some more pointed questions, talk a little bit about, I mean, I've said a little bit about who you are, but from your own words, just who you are and what it is you do.
I help the executives and the directors and the managers buy and sell homes in Silicon Valley. So we have 250 of the Fortune 500 companies all concentrated in this little tiny area.
I didn't know that.
And so yeah, we have Apple and Google on opposite sides of Sunnyvale and Santa Clara. And so obviously they're just pouring into these areas around and they're trying to buy the same home. So you've added 500,000 jobs, very little inventory has been added. And these guys are really smart. You know, they were probably first in their class in school. They've got Ivy League schools. Many of them have advanced degrees. And they're used to doing things really well. And the last thing they want to do is do a multi-million-dollar mistake. So it's really important to them to have the best possible representation. And buying a home is very scary. When you deal with huge projects like they do, there's lots and lots of money at stake. But it's a different thing when it's your money at stake. Because it represents everything that you've earned since you were born. And they're putting their trust in me to help them achieve that.
I get that. So what was it that got you into real estate? I mean, you were smart enough you could have done anything. Why real estate?
Well, I bought a lot of homes as an investor. And I just felt there was a lot of room for improvement. You know, trust me, it's a black box kind of process in figuring out what to do and how much something's worth. I wanted to have absolute transparency and really a first-class experience for the clients every step of the way. So I'm committed to this Kaizen process. And that's where you're constantly, never-ending, improving something. Mm-hmm. So we spent a whole year, the whole team, just focused on making the client comfortable during the buying process. Can you imagine?
Just figuring out how to make the client comfortable.
And then negotiations is something that I'm really excited about.
So give me 1 or 2 things you discovered at the end of a year about how to make a client more comfortable in the process.
You know, the biggest thing I think is transparency and education. So you can imagine my engineer clients are extremely intelligent. And so I've spent a lot of time helping them to understand that by coaching them through things that they really can't find anywhere. You know, they can't Google it, they can't get this information anywhere.
Say more about transparency, because I'm in the human development world and we talk about transparency is so important.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So in the negotiations, you can imagine there's 10, 15, 25 offers on a single house. So statistically, you'd expect me to maybe win 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15. I'm getting 8 or 9 out of 10.
Wow.
So the way I do this is by I'm not gonna spill the guts on the secrets of my negotiation process, but there's multiple parts, and each of those components I focused on for an extended period of time to bring it up to the best possible that it could be. Mm-hmm. So in terms of transparency, initially the transparency is between the seller, the listing agent, and me and my client. That creates comfort in the confidence of the close, in confidence of putting their trust in us and accepting our offer. So does that make sense?
Yes.
So that increases the comfort, and once that comfort is increased, there's a slight bias shift that starts to take place. We enhance that throughout a ping pong of negotiations, starting out with live, because you know when you communicate by text, there's a very small bandwidth of communication, right? If it's by phone, it's bigger. By video, it's pretty good. But face-to-face trumps everything. So I always begin my negotiations in a face-to-face preheat process. That creates transparency between the listing agent and myself. Then as we move into the negotiations that occur on the phone, those deepen the relationship and exchange of information takes place that positions me to negotiate at the end. And at the end, what I do, which is very different, I will then do live presentations, but I will bring my clients with me and have them watch my face-to-face negotiations. So most of my peers are emailing their offer in. Can you imagine with a preheat process, a relationship having been established, the communication that occurs in the middle, and a face-to-face transition at the end? That's why we're having such great success. And then of course there's a lot of attention that I put into the negotiating aspect in the face-to-face as well. But we've set the stage for success by all the work that we've done up front. So does that make sense?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It makes sense why you're getting 8 or 9 out of 10 as a result of doing that.
The clients really enjoy it because they feel they're masterful in their negotiations because of the work they do. But what they get to watch, physically watch me do this, and because it's my field and I focused on it so long, there's a sense of flow in the negotiations. You know, flow in the playing field.
Right.
That's because there's a lot of training, a lot of thoughtfulness, a lot of visualization, right? And that's charged sometimes with emotional energy, which is getting into the primal language, which is deep inside of us. When you do all of that effort on negotiations, you can flow in business too. And so it becomes kind of you're unstoppable, untouchable as you go through this negotiation process, and the clients really love it.
Now you're sitting there in the middle of Silicon Valley, you're sitting
Yeah.
in the middle of the real estate industry.
Yes.
As you look at your industry, whether it's just in Silicon Valley or nationwide, what's your take on the industry right now?
Well, the biggest problem, and it's going to be a long-term problem, is we have a lot of concentration of interest in one small area, and it's driving prices up. There's not enough inventory, and frankly, there's no land to add additional inventory. The kinds of buildings coming up in the future are condos, compact townhome type things. The single family home, they can't really add any more of that kind of inventory. So these are very coveted pieces, and the location is critical. The schools are critical. So it boils down to very few homes that are really the prime homes that my clients want. So to help them to succeed in that, the process is, how do you get that at the least possible price? Because if there's a 20-person slugfest, and you've got people holding their hands over their eyes and ears and emailing huge offers in, you want somebody that can traverse those waters and negotiate that for you successfully so that you're not spending, can you imagine 10 offers, how long that would take? I mean, that means you're not focused at work, you're taking calls, you're chewing up your time off, your family time's eroded, and meanwhile you pay your $7,000 of rent and the house costs $12,000 more every single month. So
Right.
it's a huge loss. It's a double whammy.
If you were sitting here and you had your 15, let's say you're, I don't know, whenever you started out in this business, sitting in front of you, the younger you,
Yeah.
Johnny B, just starting out, what advice would you give that person?
A lot of the advice I put in our book, the book we co-wrote, Success Mastery, I talked about the importance of identifying your why. Remember at the movie premiere, your movie premiere, I talked about the enhanced vision board. Do you remember we had that discussion?
Yes.
And I brought a copy for you. I can't show it on the air, but I promised to bring you a copy, so
Okay.
you can have this.
Thank you very much.
So in the center is the why, and that's because that's the thing you're willing to die for. If you don't get in alignment with your why, you're not going to get the power in your tank. You already have a why, you just have to identify what the why is. And then you have your core values. Your core values are already there. You just need to identify those. But when I set up my long-term goal, it has to be in the flow from the why, from the core values, and the core business principles that I've learned, like your success principles is a tremendous source. Those you'll see around the edge on that poster. And then you'll see the goals going up, in different time frames. So I call these nested goals. You have your 30-year, your 10-year, your 1 year, your 1 month, your 1 week, and then this is where the rubber hits the road. It's the one day. What are you going to do today and actually get something done today that's going to be in sync with that long-term mission? So as long as you're constantly moving in the same direction through life, You're not dispelling your energy going in circles, which most of us do. And then this is the thing I'm going to write about in the Rudy book that I'm writing a book with Rudy for the win. I'm going to talk about the primal language. Now, the primal language is the emotional power that you can tap into. So when we were at your house talking about Chicken Soup for the Soul, the reason your book was so successful, in my opinion, is because of the emotional intelligence that you used in crafting that book. And you move the audience in a way that no other book has ever moved them. So it's an emotional experience. And so art at its highest level is a conduit of emotion. But in order for us to do something great, we have to become something more. If we don't add something through experience, through learning through a coach or a class, or through visualization or emotionally charged visualization, which is even better, you can't establish new neurons, and you can't get your reticular activating system programmed, and you can't tap into the innate genius that's inside of every one of us. I mean, we just think of our intelligence as being the conscious mind, but the subconscious mind, that's where every single person on the planet is a genius. And that's where your book helps them to tap into it. And that would be my other suggestion, which is read Success Principles.
Very good. I was sitting here thinking, well, if I was younger, well, he would have been a really good dad to have.
Thank you, Jack.
No, I'm serious about that. So, God, I wish this was an hour-long interview instead of a shorter one like it is. But I want to make sure everyone knows how to get a hold of you. So if they want to reach you, where do they go?
They can go to johnnybteam.com, and all my information's there.
All right. Make sure if you ever move into Silicon Valley in that area, you ought to make sure you contact this guy. You're going to up your chance of getting a home better than anyone up there. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Jack.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Take care. All right. Well, thank you for joining this week. I'll see you next week on Hollywood Live. Take care.